hey there, everybody. Welcome to Roundtable Live. My name's BaerTaffy. I'm joined by Mathis Games, Rockley, Smile. Northern, how's your training regimen going? You ready for this?
I've been preparing. Yeah. I've been playing a lot. There's 10 games. There's like 2 of them I have not touched at all yet, so that's like the focus of this last week. But apart from that, I've been going pretty hard.
I hope they commission like a Rocky-style training montage, but for some reason you're running upstairs with a towel. It has nothing to do with what you're doing, but it just needs to be in there.
I agree, yeah.
It's mandatory for any montage, really. I don't know what the ones that don't include that are doing. They're really fucking it up, but you got to have that part. You say your strategy, you got to make it to that top 2, right? You think you can? You think you got a solid shot?
Top 2, I have no idea, because I don't know any of the other competitors enough to know if they're going to put 30 hours of practice in before the event itself, but I would love to be top 2. That'll guarantee you a top 4 finish, and if top 6 gives you something.
Yeah.
Maybe you can get in their heads a little bit, find out something about what makes them work, like commission somebody to get on.
Yeah,
I'll just get in their heads on rehearsal day. My whole game plan is just get in there. They're like, hey, you want to go play Crossy Road? You just set like the highest score that's ever been done, and then when people ask you anything, ice them. Just no emotion, no dialogue, no advice, just
like they didn't even say anything.
Like Yvonne Drago. Who are you again?
Could you plant a little Mind Ninja seed in their brains by playing as the wrong character in Crossy Road and make them think it's great? Then they'll pick up on it, and it's like, well, too late for you. I'm Aladdin again.
Genius.
If you have no idea what we're talking about, we're referring to Champions of Fire, Year 2, happening in fabulous New York City next week, right? Yeah, that's coming up real quick. So, which sadly means we'll be void of a show that week here on Roundtable Live, but we'll be.
Well, don't let me impose.
Well, we're
you can
it
still
out.
do a show.
No, you don't put me on that spot here right now. What the hell is the matter with you? We figure things out behind the scenes here. We're figuring it out. Well, I'm not sure. We may do one still, but all the same, we're going to be cheering on our boy Northern over there in the Champions of Fire. That's exciting. But we got a show for you this week as well. We're going to talk about some stuff. Maybe a little shorter this week due to Black Friday madness and Thanksgiving. Everybody's got their own stuff. Happy American Thanksgiving to you as well. Hope you enjoyed it with family, and if you were by yourself, hope you enjoyed it as well. But we got some stuff to talk about. Let's do it. Continuation of last week's insanity. It was a little weird from my end this week. Normally, I'm going through the news, and this is primarily a show about the news. But this week we were the news. Everyone was just talking about us, so we have to kind of complete the circle
right?
here.
Bring on the sponsorship.
we're not a news organization, so it's very strange for us to accidentally fall into that category by accident.
Right? Yeah. No, we are the ones typically looking for sources, not providing sources ourselves. So it's very interesting. But yeah, so the EA Plants vs. Zombies nonsense that happened a few years ago by Edmund's own admission. That was something that was not really breaking news whatsoever, but for some reason got reinterjected into the cycle again. So that has all come around again. And we've also got a little bit more info from the loot box side of things. Some really big upsets, actually. I don't know if I really want to call it that. It's not like it's a competition where Belgium is going up against EA, but that would be pretty cool, actually. I'd watch that. The Belgium Gaming Commission has made some declarations saying they're looking to investigate whether or not these loot crates actually constitute gambling. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Some word from Hawaii and France on that as well. So lots of big players getting involved.
We'll have them on as guests, Hawaii and France.
Mr. France, how do you feel about the loot box fiasco of 2017?
Keep shaking his hand for like an hour.
Mm-hmm. That's a smart joke. We're going to talk a little bit about Gazillion. I do feel like the last 4 or 5 weeks of the show, we've had to have at least like one major studio closure story, unfortunately, but it just keeps happening. And this one is particularly bad too, so we'll talk about what went down there.
Even I feel bad because for all the tweets, I thought they just meant like the number of people. I didn't know that
even
Gazillion
you
was the name of the studio. I was like, wow, a gazillion people were laid off.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of people. I don't understand.
That's what it takes to break through Mathis's cold dead heart. Oh man, a gazillion people. That's a lot. Jeez.
I was very confused for a couple days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll talk about what's gone down there. But a little bit of a pick-me-up story after that. We'll talk about Square Enix's comments on Hitman developer IO. Also, Black Friday deals. We've got a couple of roundup articles talking about what the best options are for your Black Friday savings, so we'll look out for you there. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some games this week as well. Not too many games coming around anymore at this time of year. The major releases we're trying to get out right before this week so that they could all sell a billion copies today. So, unfortunately, the window has kind of shut. But still some good stuff coming through the pipeline. We'll talk about a few. Super Skelemania being one of them, a new indie Metroidvania. I'm kind of reading it as like a hyper-concentrated Hollow Knight, but we'll talk more about that as we get closer to it. Nick is going to tell us a little bit about Nimbatus. Is that how you say it?
Nimbatus. I don't know where you put the emphasis exactly, but something like that.
Space Drone Constructor coming into early access soon, so we'll hear a little bit about that. Mathis is going to tell us about They Are Billions, a new steampunk early access strategy, zombie survival kind of deal. Sound right?
Man, that sounds generic.
Sounds like a Mathis game for you. That's for damn sure. We're going to talk a very brief amount about Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, as I played a little bit of it as well, so I want to hear what you have to say primarily, Nick. Uurnog Uurnlimited, that is one with a sponsored content caveat. It's a new one developed by Nifless Games, published by Raw Fury, kind of a weird Metroidvania platformer itself, actually. And then we'll close out the show with Supraball, which I feel like there's two routes this can take. Either we're all going to get just way too into this, or it's just going to fall off the face of the earth. But we'll talk about that once we get to the end of the show as well. Back to the loot boxes, though. Currently, I have in the topic box, EA is run by Satan, because I think that's just like the general vibe that the entirety the entirety of the gaming world is feeling at this point. It just keeps getting worse, and they just keep doubling down. But, I mean, they've already gone through the process of removing the microtransactions with the promise of an addition at a later date. But now...
I heard it was January, but I can't remember where.
Oh, they're even talking about an actual date for it now. Jeez.
Yeah,
and you know what? It pissed me off, but I saw a bunch of articles that only said that they're removing them. They never said it's a temporary removal, which I think that is an important distinction.
Yeah, especially if you're putting it in the headline. That's pretty disingenuous.
Just removing. Yeah. You can't say that.
Yeah, anyway, we've already gone through all that. But, of course, now, interesting stuff coming out of Belgium. As I mentioned, the Belgium Gaming Commission looking into this. They've announced that they're launching an investigation into whether the loot boxes available for purchase in games like Battlefront 2, like Overwatch, constitute a form of gambling. And there was a little bit of confusion about this. Apparently, the translation was kind of miffed, as online translations tend to run into issues. And this one, a lot of people were reading this as though the commission had actually already made a determination that, yes, they are gambling. But no, they've not done that. What they've done is they've kind of put forward the statements that they are looking to investigate. For example, one of those statements was the mixing of money and addiction is gambling, and then another one was mixing gambling and gaming, especially at a young age, is dangerous for the mental health of the child. So I think what happened is like people were reading those as supporting statements for the conclusion, where in reality they were simply statements that they were looking to address the legitimacy of, more or less. So it's a little bit of an error or lost in translation issue here. But yeah, the big story here, though, is the fact that they are indeed investigating it, and this is causing a bit of a domino effect as well. As we mentioned briefly, Hawaii. Do you know the name of the senator? I don't even know who it was, but I
don't know who the senator.
The guy that was he went so far as to actually quote the EA post in his remarks about investigating the loot boxes, so that's pretty great. And then France is getting involved as well. They'll be investigating the same topic. So we're getting actual, like governmental investigation involved, which is something that we speculated a little bit about a few weeks ago on the show. We were wondering when this was going to happen, and it turns out right now.
Here's the thing, it's like I'm both like, finally something is being done, and oh god damn it, I don't want the government involved in my video games. You know what I mean? Like, that's what that's why is that not why we have like the ESRB and shit to take care of this kind of thing? But they're not doing their job, or they're not doing a good enough job, and now the government's going to get in there, and I'm afraid like legislature that's going to fuck over the way games are made or produced or sold are going to make things more difficult for us, I guess, in a way. I mean, I can only speculate and be vague because I don't know, but it's always dangerous when the government decides to put their fingers into entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Without getting particularly political, though, I will say that our particular government at this moment is not a big fan of regulation. So
Yeah.
that might have a bearing on how it turns out.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on what they want to
They're pretty pro-market, is what I can tell.
Our government is also not directly involved yet, so it's worth pointing that out as well. You know, like until they begin to say they're going to look into it, we shouldn't really speculate as far as that.
But I just meant the Hawaii angle, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I guess that's a valid point, but
one way or another, something fucking needs to be done. Whether it's something as simple as like loot boxes now make the game can't be sold to anyone under 18 because you need to be an adult to buy these loot boxes because it is now a form of quote unquote gambling, to whatever. What were you gonna say, Ryan?
Well, can you imagine being EA and fucking up your game so badly that it triggers like a governmental inquiry into the concept of loot boxes?
that's literally the
exactly
point we've
that.
gotten to.
Disney cannot be happy. Like weeks out of fucking The Last Jedi, and this is like the big Star Wars video game of the year.
There was a phone call from Disney, apparently.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah,
a
well, I
They were
mentioned
not
that last
thrilled.
week. Yeah, Bob
Yeah.
Iger called up EA CEO, and I don't remember his name, but he
E-I-E-I-O.
all these letters, and he was not happy according to the reports.
God.
To be honest, like I have even more perspective on it, I think, this week than I did last week because I've been playing so many of these mobile games. And without naming any of them specifically, because, I mean, they are involved in the tournament to begin with, the stuff that EA is doing in Battlefront pales in comparison to what, like, a lot of mobile games are doing that I was, to be honest with you, mostly just ignorant of. Like, there's a couple of games that are in Champions of Fire that are basically like, hey, it's free, but if you want it without ads, give us $7. That seems like completely fair, in my opinion. And then on the completely other side of the spectrum, there's some that are like, you know, one game in particular, you can play for free for like half an hour to an hour. But then after that, it's like, if you want to keep playing, you're out of energy. You can buy like a week's worth of energy for $10 or $15.
Yeah.
Like, that is.
Oh, week's worth. Oh, that's
Yeah,
not even that
exactly.
much.
Yeah,
That's the
nope.
staple, though, right? It's like it's all about the trickle. You gotta keep them on the teat,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just it's gross.
There's a whole list of different exact things like that that are employed very commonly to the point where it's basically a template. And we'll get into that with Animal Crossing a little bit, but they follow a lot of those bullet points because they feel like that's how you do mobile games, not because they feel like that fits the product.
Yeah. So, yeah, Mathis, like you were saying, like it's interesting to consider just how far it can go because I think we did reach this breaking point here. You know, like I think we'd be more upset if if the issue continued to go ignored at this level because this seems to be the only level where something can actually be done to change it. You know, apart from people just being generally outraged about it, which does work when you get 500,000 of them to all concentrate on one particular issue at the same time. But otherwise, you know, like nothing's really ever going to happen unless a government body like this actually steps in and intervenes. So I think it's like if you're choosing between do we want to continue having to deal with it ourselves or do we want some government intervention here finally, I think we got to go with the latter now, right?
I guess so. I mean, I try to think of like a simple, like easy fix to it, and the only thing I can think of is like if a game has loot boxes anyway, you automatically get an M rating so that it can't be sold to anyone under 18.
That's interesting, yeah.
I know people are saying, well, you can't buy loot boxes while, you know, unless you're 18 anyway. If you're a 15-year-old and you have your mom's credit card tied to your Xbox Live account, it doesn't fucking matter if you're 18 or not. You're going to click the box that says, yes, I am 18 and buy a loot box.
Well, you can buy like points with like the point cards and gift cards with cash at the point of sale as well.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
like, I do think that that's kind of like a false argument is that you have to be 18 anyway because, you know, every time you go to the grocery store, there's like stacks and stacks of like Farmville, Steam, you know, Apple App Store coins and stuff like that. Like, it's way too easy to get around. At
Also,
the same time,
is 17 plus, not 18.
at the same time, I do kind of like, I don't know. It's a very strange issue for me because I do believe like, hey, people should just not buy them. But when it comes to adults, sure, there's like gambling addiction and stuff like that. But I believe that they're more capable of exercising, I guess, proactive free will. Like, I want this, but I'm not going to do it because it's bad for me. Or I'm going to do it because I don't care. But for kids, I think that is where it becomes more troubling.
Yeah.
Who was it on it was Jack Black. I don't remember how long ago. He was on a late night talk show, and he was actually talking about mobile games and how he got a bill in his email from his 8-year-old son who had his iPad for like over $3,000 of microtransactions that he had just clicked on and done because it's tied to his account.
Yeah.
And he had to like call the company and be like, I want a refund for $3,000, please.
It's so easy to spend much, I'm sure, on some of those games. Like, Ryan, I'm sure you know this by now yourself with that firsthand experience, but some of them, they just like kids, I'm sure just have no understanding whatsoever of the weight of what they're doing when they see like, oh, this is 7,000 gold and you just hit this button. That's all you got to do. And there we go. It's in my chest.
Sack of shiny diamonds.
Yeah.
Well, and they do like, it wouldn't bother me so much if it wasn't like deliberately super cynically manipulative. Like, so many of the games they open and they introduce like 10 forms of in-game currency and like different resources you can run out of, and then you pay into the system to get different resources to bring those back up. So by the time, like, sometimes I'll be playing this game and it's like, well, you failed, but if you want to play longer, you can pay 10 gems. And I have to go in my head and I'm like, well, I paid $7 for 100 gems and 100 yellow lightning bolts. So how much is, like, I'm going to pay 70 cents just to play the level again? That's outrageous.
Right.
And so, like, you have to, even as an adult who is thinking critically about it, I have to run the math and be like, it's costing me like way too much money to click this. And if you're a kid and you're like, well, I have gems and the button is right there, I can click on it in like a fraction of a second and just do it. Like, I think it's 100% deliberately designed to make people forget about the real money cost up front, which is why when people try to defend that the industry is doing it, I'm like, they're actually kind of trying to like hypnotize you into spending your money.
The one interjection I have to make is that, and I don't say this to defend the practice, but you can specifically set it up so if you spend any money on at least the iTunes store, it requires that you put your password in.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I guess a parent should at least be able to block a kid that way. There's probably other ways too, but, you know,
I mean,
at least there's
obviously the argument could come down as like, be a better parent.
Yeah, of course.
right, and
But
that
those
is
predatory
fair.
practices are not only aimed at kids, but people who are easily addicted to those gambling type things. I mean,
Right.
Gambling addiction is a real thing.
Yeah.
You can be over 18 and still have that problem.
Yeah, of course. I just wanted to mention there is at least one step as a barrier for children to keep them out of that.
And clearly, like, the argument of just don't buy the games isn't fucking working because we're a small minority of people that say don't buy the games. Everybody, the general gaming public, buys the games. They don't. It's not something they process.
There's a whole group of people that want to buy them just to spite the people that say don't buy them and don't even care. Like, they're just angry people keep talking about it, and they're like, well, I hate this group. I'm just going to buy it to say fuck them.
Yeah.
So something has to happen.
I think there should, like, I don't know if there's a perfect solution because I understand, particularly on mobile, consumers will not pay $3 for your game. So I understand that if you've made something very good, it is difficult to convince people to spend what seems like a lot of money at the start, $3. But later on, if you're like, give me 50 cents to like fast track your progress past this difficult level, they'll be like, I'll do it. But I feel like a decent solution would be like a maximum weekly or monthly spend that was like $20.
I disagree about that they won't spend the money because, like, stuff like Professor Layton, I think that was $8. Phoenix Wright is like 11. Like, I have no problem buying those because I expect them to be of good quality. If the customer knows it's of good quality and isn't just trying to take a chance on something they're not sure about, I think they're more willing to spend. It's just that you don't have an upper end of spending that's nearly as high if you take that route.
I agree, but I disagree. I agree with you on a personal level because I paid like $15 or $20 for XCOM Enemy Within on iPad. But by and large, I'm like, I think that most consumers aren't that without being offensive, they're not that savvy. I think if they see
Right.
like great game with good reviews that's like $1 or game with good reviews that's free, they're gonna go for the free thing like 99% of the time.
Do you, when you see a price on a game, though, are you not almost relieved?
Yes.
Like, I expect now that I've paid for it when
Absolutely.
I paid for it, and that's such a great feeling.
Yeah.
And Phoenix Wright for that cheap, or either one of those things, is like actually an incredible deal versus the DS games when they came out at like $30 each, and this is like all the DS games that you can buy piecemeal within the game, which I'd rather just buy them all, but you know, at least there's an infrastructure for it.
Well, the other part of that, though, and Ryan kind of mentioned it, is that it's way easier to spend 50 cents 10 times than it is to spend $5 once. And that's what everyone making these games understands, and that's what they're going gung-ho for, is the fact that they can design around luring people into making those multiple purchases at lower levels, because that's what's working now. That's what's making
and they
money.
also, they don't do... I feel like if you don't play these games, you're just like, well, why don't you just not buy them? Which is, like, by definition, what you should do, probably. But in the moment, it's not like you're in the main menu and they're like, would you like to turn real money into fake currency you can only use in our game? You're like, obviously, you're much more likely to say no in that situation. What they do is they wait until there's like a heightened moment.
Yeah.
Like you're about to beat your high score or something, and then you crash into a wall, and they're like, well, you can get an extra 30 seconds if you just take some of the in-game currency you've earned and put it into this. And then, you know, they have like a little timer that counts down. Like you got to choose, you know, within the next 10 seconds. And then a lot of the time you're just going to be broken down. You're going to be like, fine, I'll do it. So
To encourage impulse buys and people that aren't thinking, you know, reasonably about it sometimes, or are emotionally affected.
Like that's why
Which
we
is what I
get
hate about it.
that's why we get up in arms when we see things like Activision filing patents for how to better manipulate their player base in multiplayer experiences, because this is like this sort of shit that we're desperately trying to get them to steer away from. We want to focus more on making the games better, which seems obvious, apart from like focusing on how to make the game sell more microtransactions, which is what the shareholders seem to think is the obvious route. So it's just a really conflicted middle ground that I don't think is really ever going to get pulled one way or the other, because both parties feel so strongly about their position.
Somebody on Twitter said this to me the other day and agreed really like quite a bit, that they see the games as simply revenue streams and nothing beyond that.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to play a revenue stream. That's kind of
That's why,
like,
like the games as a service model is taking such full hold of the AAA scene. Like the AAA part of the industry is becoming depressing at this point because it's so pervasive. All these issues. It's like all the big players, they can't get away from doing everything they can to try to compete to like get more shareholders to be happy, because they are beholden to them, whereas the independent side doesn't have to worry about that facet of things.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still kind of like, I stand by the idea that loot boxes are not gambling. They're actually worse than gambling. But I've beaten this drum too much. The thing is, in most microtransactions where you get loot boxes, you literally can't win. If you gamble, you're probably going to lose, statistically speaking. But you could win. You could win some of your money back. You could break even. You could win a bunch. In microtransactions, you're literally spending money to see what you lost on.
Yeah.
Like now you have put money into a dice roll that then becomes worthless. The only other argument you could make is like, you know, in Battlegrounds or Counter-Strike, technically that is an asset that like goes in your inventory and stuff like that. But I take it even a step further, that I'm like, it's kind of worse than gambling in many ways, especially because it's completely unregulated, so you don't have to like print the drop rates ever. And they kind of lie to you whenever, because like a slot machine might actually work the same way, and I'm ignorant of this. But when you like buy a loot crate and open it in Counter-Strike Go, it doesn't spin randomly. There's like psychological manipulation that is like, oh, look, you were so close to getting that red tier gun, or you were so
Rocket
close to
League does
getting
the
that
same
knife.
thing too with their roulette wheel. It's like they send you right past that black market decal for your car, but you just got to the rare painted skin. Sorry, you know.
Yeah.
It's like a carnival game as well, but actually somewhat worse, because with the carnival game, they've got it min-maxed to figure out what it costs them to buy those plush dolls, and then they run it in a way that they average out the amount of time people win and then make sure they're always coming out ahead. In this one, the physical good doesn't even cost them anything because there is no physical good.
Yeah,
there's no overhead to this. So they're 100% making out. They don't have to print the drop rates, and it's rigged.
The Australian or the Victorian Commission for Gambling apparently has also even gone so far as to say that the loot boxes fit their legal definition of gambling. So, it's not just you saying that, Ryan. It's actual government bodies are coming to that conclusion themselves now at this point. So hopefully something will be done. We'll see, though. I'm
just sick of this shit. Like Battlefront 2 again is such a good example, just because it's obviously the most recent, but the most awful. Is that I'm sick of games now just being so designed around this thing that you can't take it out without ruining the game.
Yeah,
even taking out microtransactions, the progression loot system is still there because it's just the game. Like, that is, if you remove that and make everything like free, apparently that's just not possible because it's so heavily encoded into what the game should be. That it just removes a lot of you go back to old Battlefronts 1 and 2 and you're like, no, I want that again. I want like those early 2000s Battlefront, not this monster that you've created. I want a video game. I don't want a fucking virtual roulette wheel where, like Ryan said, you don't win anything. You just get some skins and a taunt.
No, you're right. Go ahead.
Okay. Some people in chat are going well, how do you feel about the Overwatch loot crates? Because I think previously we were all basically like, it's okay. It's not the ideal model because the game costs money, and then also it has loot boxes, but at least the loot boxes are 100% cosmetic. What do you think about trading cards? Like, when you buy a pack of Pokemon or Magic the Gathering cards? This whole, the last 6 months has made me retroactively way less okay with that, to be honest with you. And, I previously, I think it was, as Nick has said many times, you're like the frog in the pot of boiling water. With Overwatch, you're like, the game's great, and the cosmetics are the loot boxes are cosmetic only, so it's very easy to just ignore them if you want to do that. At least it's very easy for some people. Looking back on it now, I'm like, that's not that dissimilar from they don't gate heroes, and that's okay, but still, it's kind of a little bit of psychological manipulation to get it done. And I think what's interesting about this situation is the fact that the EA has fucked it up for everybody. It was, as of 3 months ago, everybody was mostly okay with all of this, and then one company took it. Well, Nick was.
Oh yeah, Nick's been doing this one for a long time, we know. But
one company took it way too far, and now everybody's like, well, what about Wizards of the Coast now? Is Wizards of the Coast do they have to publish their drop rates? I think they already do publish their drop rates, to be fair. But.
Someone in chat said that the trading cards are regulated in some way. I don't know how, but
it's probably it's a physical good, so I imagine they have to go through an entire process with that too. But no, you're right, dude, and it's so funny to me to think that in some ways we might want to be thanking EA for fucking this up so much because we might still be the frog in the pot otherwise.
Depends
I know
how it ends up.
Definitely, take that with a grain of salt, but still, it's we really could still be the frog if they hadn't gone to this extreme length and made everybody realize, oh, this isn't okay. This is very much not okay. And
well, I see two branching paths coming from this, and one is, maybe actually three. One is regulation happens, and then we get to look back on this time in games as why did all these games have these shitty monetization models? Geez, I'm glad that's not a thing anymore. Another one is they find some way that's much more insidious and quiet to sneak in that we can't even think of yet, and it'll show up over the next year or two. Then there's the regulation gets passed, and it kind of goes away for a bit, and then they find a way to still do it with the regulation.
They're always going to find a way.
And then we might actually look back on this time and go, man, I'm really sad that we didn't keep it at this level of sort of benignness. So let's hope for the one where we get to look back and go, all right, well, I'm glad that's over.
Yeah,
this is also anecdotal, for the people who are saying well, video games are fucking expensive to make. They got to make as much money back as they can. I bring it up, because I watch his videos a lot, but the Jim Sterling video that he just released, EA had a phone conference with their shareholders where they have to speak the truth. And they said straight up to their shareholders, removing these microtransactions should not in any way affect how much money we make from the game.
Glad you brought that up, actually. I forgot to say that.
If that's the case, then that argument of these microtransactions are necessary to make our money back is just flat, patently false.
Yeah.
Unless they're lying to their shareholders.
Yeah, it's
which
like
I
that
don't-
Which is
also.
also illegal, but it's back and forth.
There's no way they're telling the truth, right? It must
lying to
affect their bottom line. Otherwise, why would they go to such extreme measures?
Greed.
That's the
I
point,
feel
though.
like
That's what I'm
both-
saying. Is they
either
must.
direction they did something wrong.
But they're
So it
lying
doesn't
one way or
matter.
the other, is what I'm saying. It's like they're either lying to the shareholders. Well, they're lying somewhere. I mean, that's not even really that surprising. But like, I refuse
Boils
to
down
believe
they just wanna
basically.
make more money for themselves. And if you, somebody in chat also said, did you watch the Super Bunny Hop video from a few months ago about all the AAA companies using these insane tax loopholes from other countries to make extra millions and millions and millions of dollars?
Mm-hmm.
That's also there.
Yeah.
Did you think, like, Star Wars, of all the things, it's not like it was not going to sell well?
Honestly,
Yeah.
the fact that it is a Star Wars game is probably one of the reasons this is so big.
Yeah.
Because they fucked up a Star Wars game. If it was their own IP of some sort, it probably would have been a thing, but it would have been as big as any other thing that, usually comes up, like the Shadow of War, Lord of the Rings thing. But this is Star Wars, a month out from The Last Jedi, in the middle of Star Wars fever.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, like even
nice job, EA.
to further confirm that that's probably what it was, like think about just back a few months ago when we were talking about the NBA 2K18 stuff, which was almost as bad, if not worse. And because it was a sports game, I think that niche really didn't cause it to blow up as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's been in NBA. Well, it's recently in NBA, but it's also been in FIFA.
Yeah,
for
FIFA's had it
fucking-
forever, and now all those people are like, "Yeah, we've been dealing with this. What the fuck?"
I wonder, too, if, and this, you got to follow me on this one because it's a little bit out there, but if the fact that this caused EA to lose some money and then it pissed off Disney, it's actually small money getting yelled at by big money in the case of two different iterations of Star Wars.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, because EA pissed off Disney, Disney got mad, caused their PR train to go off the rails, then it exacerbated it, and so we're only really upset because Disney's upset.
Yeah.
But I also don't necessarily buy into the fact that Disney didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Disney
if I
has their own
either.
insane. I mean, the Marvel Heroes, which is another Disney property that got canceled, is another big microtransaction game. Like, I don't know, man. They're probably just mad that it was Star Wars and.
Well, let me go ahead and snag that segue from you then, since you kind of just lobbed that over the plate for me. Since I think we can wrap up this loot box nonsense for the time being. Let me extend an olive branch too, because I'm 100% sure that there are those of you out there that are like, please stop talking about loot boxes. For the love of God, it's every week. We
It's
can't.
important.
Now we got to keep talking
We have
about it.
to. We don't have a choice. Like, not only is it like the only thing anybody's talking about right now, but it's very important. We don't want this to happen. We need to stop it now. Stop it. Stop that.
Stop that.
Stop that.
Stay on brand, Bear.
Our
Sorry.
game.
Anyway, like Mathis was saying, though, Marvel Heroes, another Disney property, is being, I want to say, violently shut down because, man, this is just not a good look here. This story coming from Massively OP, saying they got a credible tip from a former Gazillion employee who told them that Marvel Heroes will be over today, actually, the 24th of November. So it's being shut down as we speak. So it seems like they're also reporting the entire team will be going without severance pay or paying out accrued PTO, nor will they be getting benefits after about a week or so. So that really sucks. Pretty awful.
Yeah, it's interesting because like a few days ago, wasn't the announcement like they were closing down, but the game would be shutting down on January 31st?
On December 31st was the
Or December
original
31st,
story.
sorry? Yeah. And so now they're just like, I wonder why it just all of a sudden was like, nah, we're done.
You guys snip off the dead branch, I guess, right? That's all they're saying here.
If they're done anyway, I guess that's the idea. Is just you save a month of salary or something by doing it, whatever the upkeep.
A lot
for
of
the
money on
servers is.
PTO and benefits too. Shit, I don't
Just
know.
in time for Christmas.
Right.
What a lovely thing to do.
I've
Really
actually
lovely.
been in a not an exact position to this, but I've been in a similar position where a company got me out the door hurriedly to prevent me from acquiring a year's worth of benefits and more PTO and holiday pay and stuff like that. Just to, because got a penny pinch. But yeah, that seems to be happening on a massive scale here. Not too great of a look. But
Is there any
Heroes
like
going
news
down.
as to why, or was there not really anything?
Well, I mean, there's been an entire saga of Marvel Heroes incidents that have kind of resulted in this. I haven't really been following it very closely myself, but the game's been running into a lot of issues. Apparently, the community. I'm taking this directly from Massively OP as well. They kind of have like a rundown of what's been going on with the game. So they said like their entire last month or so, they've been going without a formal update from the team at all. Their social media has been dead. Their Steam reviews have been negative for a long time. The player base has gone down. One major promotion apparently didn't even happen at all. So that just, I guess, left people without a lot of confidence in the studio. It's just, kind of a Lemony Snicket situation, series of unfortunate events that results in this studio going to the wayside.
Marvel Heroes was like the Diablo version of Marvel games, right? I think I played it like once, maybe twice.
I couldn't tell you, yeah, but just another studio going away. Gazillion is no more. Let me alter the mood a bit though. A little bit of a feel good story, a little pick me up after that one. We got a little post here, courtesy of Square Enix president and CEO Yosuke Matsuda. Let me read here. We've talked a little bit about IO on the show quite a bit. The team behind the Hitman game. They put out the episodic release of Hitman last year and put out the Game of the Year version of that this year. Square Enix president Yosuke Matsuda went on record as saying the reason that they allowed IO to keep the IP after Square Enix separated from the developer is because, quote, it's only Hitman if it's made by IO, which is pretty cool. In a world right now that we're experiencing where all these AAA publishers have been so just evil, just really bad people. This struck me as, wow, these people kind of get it still. Like they got their finger on the pulse of the nation, and they understand that you gotta let the good guys win sometimes. So this was refreshing to me. It says, I believe the fans of Hitman think it's only Hitman if it's made by IO, so I thought that was the best way for the game to continue, and that's why we were supportive of the management buyout, and of course didn't mind if they continued to use the IP. So that's cool. That's good.
But they did sell it, didn't they?
When Square parted ways with them, they gained full rights. I don't know if I don't know the specific details on that. They probably had to buy it off them, right? Because
that's what I mean is like, it is nice in a way for them to not like sell the studio and keep the property for themselves, because the Hitman brand is worth something.
Yeah.
In games, not in film, obviously. But either way, but I hesitate like to go all the way and be like super nice of them.
Sure.
Because I thought that IO bought it off of them, but I don't know if that's the case.
It's probably the case, just due to the legality of it all. I don't know if they're even like, maybe they bought it for $1, if anything, but I couldn't tell you the specifics there. But yeah, that's just a way.
Now, if the next Hitman isn't episodic,
yeah, so that's an interesting consideration too. So they've got the Game of the Year edition out now, which I am really excited to actually became a thing. I think we did even talk about that too, how they absolutely needed to make that. They got a new entry in the series in the works. They brought elusive targets back, which is kind of neat, so that's cool too.
I love Hitman 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I think in hindsight, it's probably my favorite game from 2016. I'm still skeptical that if they make it not episodic, it'll bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a weird kind of pseudo niche product, if that makes any sense at all. This is just like my perspective, but it was extremely popular like 20 years ago or 15 years ago. I sort of don't think it's there anymore. I think it's got to exist on kind of like that low AAA end of things. Because the thing is, Hitman, if Hitman 2016 had just come out, not episodic, probably would have been easier to stomach for a lot of people. But it's also like 4.5 hours long.
Total?
Like, yes.
Oh.
I mean, a lot of what that Hitman 2016 relies on is replay value, just playing levels over. and over.
Yeah.
I think like it doesn't necessarily review well in today's modern climate. Like, there's no multiplayer. It it's deep, but it shines the more you play it, as opposed to, and the story kind of like sucks. So if you just play it through once and then you're done, you're like, well, I paid $60 for like 6 hours of Hitman. But Chad is right. You could spend 20 hours on every single level.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's the thing. Like, looking at it on paper, I can't really fault them for trying it the way they did, because it makes sense. Hitman, I think you can kind of just take that as you take the Hitman core, right? Which is just Ancient 47 goes to a place and does some cool shit and takes out a target. And you can just take that and just like have that formula applied to different locations. And that's pretty much what they did, and it sounds like it should work, but people just really aren't biting on the episodic thing. So, like, I don't know, like, you can build off this and just keep making new locations and kind of turn it into a games as a service thing and not necessarily have to have a new entry or try to do it episodically again. Don't you think? Just continue to build more and more on the existing...
Do it like a fighting game. Every 2 years or so, you add 5 more levels and then re-release it at full price.
Yeah, and just add another adjective to it. It's going to become like super
please
hyper turbo
don't do
Hitman.
that, but it's a thing you can do.
Yeah. What do you think, though? Like, I don't know what the successful version of a new Hitman game is, and I think you may be right in the idea that maybe its prime has passed at the same time.
Yeah, you might be right, honestly. Like, I really liked Absolution, but I know I'm, like, apparently in the minority when it comes to that. Or, like, most old-school Hitman fans did not like Absolution. And I can understand why, because Absolution is a lot less sandboxy.
Mm-hmm.
And 2016 does bring back the sandboxiness, but it lost a lot of the plot for me. And I enjoyed having a story, I guess, in my Hitman game and having like a 6 to 8 hour experience and going through a story and stuff. Maybe Hitman is just a niche thing now.
Mm.
Was the single player structured in such a way that it was very linear, despite it being episodic? Like, it just had a narrative going through it?
It's like almost exactly the opposite, if that makes sense.
It was vague, just kind of like left it open-ended?
There was like, every mission was essentially a self-contained sort of story, and then there was like 20 minutes total of cutscenes that are draped over top at the start and the end of every mission that kind of forms a coherent narrative, but it's not really like... It's almost like they edited it together without the rest of the game being there.
Yeah,
if that makes
I was
sense.
just wondering how that was even possible, being that it was so open-ended with like a month between each level. Like, how do you tell a story that slowly? But I guess they did it.
They found a way. Anyway, yeah, there's Square Enix sending some praise over to Team IO. That's cool. Hey, it's Black Friday. You need some deals? You need some deals?
We don't really do...
I'm good, but like, do you?
We don't really do Black Friday here. Sort of we do, but not as much, I
Boxing
think.
Day.
Do you have Cyber Monday still, though?
Yeah, Cyber Monday.
Well, I mean, like, we have it on Amazon.
Yeah.
That's 100% for sure.
You don't really have
like,
like the... Oh,
well, so I guess
Newegg,
Cyber Monday has to be online. That makes sense. We sort of have it, but I think it's like not as big of a deal.
Yeah.
They're trying to bring it up here, but yeah, people go nuts on boxing.
You know something I noticed? Japan does Black Friday, which is really weird. Like,
Really?
they're super
Did that
into
start
it
this
over
year?
there. No, like they've been doing it for a little while. I think it recently started becoming a lot more popular, but they've been doing it, and that's really bizarre, but also kind of interesting. Yeah. Anyway, it's Black Friday, kind of cool. The Xbox One S is $190 on Black Friday,
Very cheap.
along with the PlayStation 4 original, or I think this is the Slim now, or whatever the hell. It's the PS4 Slim now, down to $199. So damn good deals on consoles if you're looking for those. Sounds like they're maybe trying to compete with the new hotness on the market, but I won't make any assumptions. Hey Nick, did you know the Oculus is on sale for
I know, man.
$350 with the
It's
touch
cool.
controllers?
Yeah, mine's in a box now.
Oh no, dude! I'm trying so desperately to hold on to the value of my
Well,
what the hell is it even called? The Vive. I can't even remember.
what
the
is it
name of
even
the
called?
thing.
That's what we're at now. Look, I gotta say the reason that I can't leave it connected to my computer is it takes up way too many ports and also constantly starts VR shit I don't want when I'm trying to play VR.
The same.
So I can't have it connected to my computer unless I specifically want to use it.
You don't just
So
want
if
to
they
leave it
invent
out, so you got to put it in a box so it's at least a little neat, right?
Yes. They gotta give us a switcher that's like an HDMI thing and a couple of USB things that connects to one somehow. I know that like physically isn't possible, but just have it so you can flip it on and off without having to have it disconnected.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'd leave it connected and then maybe I'd play more VR. But stupidest conversation I know. But like does actually impact my usability when it comes to that.
No, I'm with you, dude. I actually flipped my breaker because I had my Vive plugged in along with too much other shit.
I don't understand Black Friday,
Okay.
but I think you could explain it to me. It is far enough in advance of Christmas that you can buy gifts for people.
Yes.
And also 90% of America has the day off. Is that the...
That's the assumption, because you don't want to take a Thursday off and then come in on a Friday.
Except
That
for
doesn't make any
everybody
sense.
who works retail.
Yeah, the other 10% are
right,
in hell.
right, yeah. Or working fast food.
It's kind of like the symbolic switch from fall to Christmas, and it's like the first day of Christmas season, and so everybody goes and buys their Christmas shit.
The reason it's called Black Friday is because it's the first day of the year that all the retail stores are projected to go into the black instead of the red in their profits.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
There you go.
Okay.
One of the many factoids I picked up working at GameStop.
Yeah, and it's also because that's what my heart turned at the end of Black Friday at any restaurant, and I wanted to just.
Who goes to a restaurant on Black Friday?
I went
Everybody
to
after they're done shopping.
I went to Panda Express today.
Really? But I'm also like, this is not very roundtable-y, but I also feel like we're gonna have a lot of spare time.
No
on
problem.
today's show.
Yeah, no, all good.
As I've gotten older, I've stopped trusting in-store sales because I know that there's gotta be a law that is like, if you advertise a sale, it's gotta be real. But I don't know if anybody's checking it.
Yeah.
So if I walk into a store and I see something and it's like 35% off, I'm kind of like, prove it. Like if you have a price tag on it and it's been like crossed out and changed or something, I want to see the whole price tag, and like I feel like I'm being lied to a little bit whenever I do that.
I can explain it, and it's that the always the caveat is while supplies last, and they specifically stock stores with specific amounts of inventory to reflect what they want to lose that day to encourage sales overall. So if they have a couple of loss leaders, that's usually the thing that gets people in the door. They expect them to then pick up a few things that are marginally discounted along with them as add-on sales, and they end up winning in the overall.
Oh, you got to tell me. I'm sure the evil geniuses at GameStop or elsewhere have already conceived this idea, but like, so you put while supplies last, right? So you got like 5 pillows that you're selling for 50% off, and you sell them all. And then somebody comes in, you still got the pillows, and they're like, hey, are these the 50% off pillows? No, we only had 5 of the 50% off pillows. Those supplies are gone. These are the normal price pillows. You can still get them, though.
Yeah. No, that's scummy as shit. Actually, even GameStop didn't do that, I feel like it's within their purview.
Yeah.
As digital starts taking over, they need to do scummier tactics.
And they're finding ways.
I don't think I ever went shopping on Black Friday. I usually worked it, but I never was like, I can't wait to get up at midnight and go to Target. I'm just, Amazon, Cyber Mondays, that's where it's at for me.
Yeah.
Just let me buy some stuff off the internet. I think last year I just bought like an external hard drive. That was my big purchase.
Yes.
See, your
computer equipment's good those days.
Your issue, Ryan, though, is mostly not a problem in the gaming world, right? Because we have like
everything $60.
Exactly. Yeah, we got the bar that we have set, and we can keep them honest.
In a way, that's actually good. Like, I think that's a positive. But I don't know. I guess like I always find that it's sweet when you want to buy something and it goes on sale. But when you go shopping specifically because things you didn't even know you wanted were on sale, I ain't got time for that.
It's for Christmas shoppers, really. It's so they can grab some stuff for their parents or kids or whatever, which is fair, I guess. I just wish we didn't have to do such drastic discounts that encourage people to get trampled
I think
I mean,
there's
like,
less
literally
trampling
people
these
die.
days, aren't there? Isn't there? Like, I feel like that's.
I have not seen a good trampling video in at least a couple of years.
Retail in general is down all over the place.
Yeah.
There's actually been videos this year that I thought were hilarious where they bust open the doors and like one guy walks through. And I'm all for that.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Always, it astounds me when you watch some of those videos and you'll see people like almost getting into fistfights over a TV. I get it. For a lot of people, the TV is like, it's a status symbol. It's at like the center of your living room. You know, maybe you and your family spend all your quality time watching it.
And you got a sweet story about how you bought it.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
exactly.
true too. Yeah, valid
Plus, you can
point.
get a fight for free, so even better. But then, like, whenever you see it and it's like, oh, people are like ripping waffle makers out of each other's hands, you're just like,
Yeah.
you have become an insane person.
The moms that would fight over whatever that year's kid's toy was,
Yeah.
like actually throw down in the middle of an aisle and start punching each other.
There's got to be some good videos of like when Furbies were new, and just like moms like murdering one another.
It's
in
every
the
year
aisle.
it's something else. So whether it's the Furby or not, I mean, I'm sure we've got
Last
something
year
in
it
the
was
last 5.
Hatchimals.
Right?
Last year it was what?
Hatchimals.
What are Hatchimals?
What the hell is a
so
Hatchimal?
You buy
It's like a
toy.
blind bag.
It's like a fucking loot box for kids.
Oh no!
Yeah,
God.
So what it is you buy an egg in a big box, and it can be one of any number of different
no,
animals,
dude.
and you have to take care of the egg for like 2 days, and then it starts pecking through the egg and stuff until it hatches, and you got the color you were hoping for.
Dude, that's actually a genius toy, though.
That is pretty smart.
It's a loot box. For
You have
kids.
to wait. You have to wait 2 days for it to open.
It's something like that. It's like a day or two for it to
You
open.
can't just crack
like,
it up.
makes noises. It'll wiggle. Its eyes will glow, and so like you got to be like, I got to take care of my baby.
Did you see? I saw there's an Ashens video. He reviews all kinds of blind bag toys, and one of the ones he did was like a loot crate for Rocket League cars.
Mhm.
And he went through the whole thing. It was flimsy as shit. There were maybe like 10 different toys you could get. Like 2 of them were super rare, and if you get the super rare one, it comes with a DLC code for some kind of skin for the game.
Nice.
And after he finished reviewing the thing, and he was like ready to burn it, because he does that. He has like a butane lighter and he burns things. He was looking at it and he was like, "Did you know this thing was 10 pounds? It's like this crappy little shitty plastic Hot Wheels toy. 10 pounds is a lot of money
Mhm.
for something that shitty."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wild.
Did you also know that the BlizzCon bag that from was like loot box themed?
Yeah.
Everything you got in it was just randomized, like what one you would get. Everything was like, and you could upgrade to the epic bag for more money.
Oh, it was just.
Yeah.
I remember you telling us that there was like rare drops in the loot bag in the actual
Yep.
bags, right?
You could get
too?
like a little minifigure, but you might be one of the lucky ones and get the gold one.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, it's everywhere. Now that our eyes are open, we are woke.
Our
we can
eyes
see
are
all
Yeah,
the.
we're the boiled frogs. Here we are.
Dude, did you seen the commercials for that? There was a couple of years ago. I'm trying to think of the name of the company. It's like Osmo or something like that. They made those RC cars that you raced against your friends, but you all controlled them with your phones.
Yeah,
yeah, I
Or
remember that,
something like that.
Mm.
They made a new toy that is like a robot that you control with your phone. You could play like rock, paper, scissors and like solve puzzles with it. That looks sick. While we're being cynical about children's toys, I'm like, this looks awesome.
No,
Can it be like a real child though, and it like the loot box is like how intelligent is the robot? It could be random. It could be dumb.
That would be great.
It's
Yeah.
a GLaDOS personality core powered robot.
Yeah.
You get one that's a rogue AI and wants to infect your computer.
Oh, it's so good. I want it.
Dude, I'm just. Now that you got me in this mentality, I'm thinking about like, man, how much worse could Hot Wheels cars have been if they like introduced a loot box system to that shit? You
Yeah.
know, I had like the big old wall of
you were
cars, and if
I
they were
want
all
the Dodge
just
Viper GT, man. I gotta keep buying
better
it.
get lucky,
But
yeah.
you get the Dacia instead.
I don't want a Dacia. Get that out of here.
Well, I'm thinking like, I think we might be too woke because now I'm like,
Uh-oh.
you remember like you'd go to Toys R Us and they'd have a big gumball machine.
Yeah.
You put in a quarter and then it would spin down the like marble track and do like a flip and then get hit by a hammer. And
Wow.
that's
You're lucky. Mine just dropped out.
well, that's I'm less cynical about that. This is just an engineer built that to make you more likely to put a quarter in to get a gumball, and you don't even get to choose the flavor. Sometimes you get the black gumball, and you're like, I got to put another 25 cents in,
God.
or I got this like black
He's
licorice.
right.
We've
We
channeled
are
our
too
chakra and we can just see everything.
It doesn't need it.
Oh,
It's like
Lord.
the CS:GO tick 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 thing. It just it goes. You get to watch a sphere go down a big old racetrack.
I
That's
bet
terrifying.
I bet those fucking. You go to Taco Bell and you drop a coin into the top of the water wheel system. I bet those are rigged against us, dude. I bet you can't even land it on the platform. Trying to.
Did you know that Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus game, is a month old, is already on sale for $30?
Oh,
Yeah,
50% off.
you got
Good game.
That's wild, right?
Yeah.
It's like great, but also terrible.
Yeah.
This is
And
the
it's
part that's
critically
hard.
well received. Like, that's wild.
It's $25. It's less than half.
25?
Normal
Oh, I
price
saw
60.
30.
It's $25.
What? What do you mean there's a race to the bottom on Steam? What are you talking about?
Similarly, Destiny 2. You can get it for $27 on Amazon at the moment. So
Yeah.
that's
So if you just bought it, fuck you.
that's right. Yeah.
I actually held off. So I'm in the market for a new car, and I actually completely held off on buying a car until
Get last year's model?
And just get something and the place I'm looking at, they're like fucking like $2,000 off. The car that you were literally
Nice.
looking at a
Yeah.
week ago. I'm like,
Getting a $98,000 Tesla.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Everybody can be a silent assassin.
They YouTube money.
Damn
Just
right.
throwing
Is it, speaking of assassins, is Assassin's Creed on sale at
Sure
all?
is. Yeah, it's $20 off.
Don't buy it on PC. It runs like shit.
Oh, but I want to try it.
No, it runs like ass.
I don't want to play it on console.
It's bad.
I have not had
Never
issues, so I don't.
You haven't had any stuttering at
No,
all?
not yet. Not yet.
But I have the same graphics card as Mathis, so it'll probably stutter for me.
For me, like every couple minutes, it was like, and then it would be normal, and then it would stutter again.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Okay. Yeah.
And it was like a big complaint in the Steam forums, so I know I'm not alone, damn it.
Lame.
Yeah, that one's 35 right now.
Thank you.
Call of Duty World War II is $40 as well. If you're interested in that, you can get that over on Amazon. Overwatch half off, $30. You got a deal on Resident Evil 7 as well. It's $15, dude.
Yep, and the new DLC is coming out on the 12th, which adds more to the game. But you do have to pay for that in addition. So
There you go. There you
I'm
go.
excited.
Yeah, good.
I am
deals.
like, I think we have this conversation now 3 times a year, and I always end up being like the old curmudgeon. But like, I'm probably not going to buy anything.
I
in
know
this
you're not
Steam
going to
sale.
buy anything, man.
I just don't want. Like, if I bought Assassin's Creed, I'm not gonna. I know myself. I'm not gonna play.
You're not going to
Assassin's
play
Creed.
it.
What's your backlog right now? What's like your top 3 of like games you even have that you need to play?
I mean, I don't know if I guess Undertale would make the cut.
thank you for acknowledging that.
Yeah.
I've been trying so hard not to be a dick about it and needle you.
Undertale, the diss track, and
Oh, that's we can put that.
If
I'm over the diss track.
if I there are games that I should play that I have not played this year.
Yeah.
If somehow like I got shot in the throat
Oh god.
and like it would be terrible, of course,
Don't
and I
do that.
couldn't talk for like a month.
thank God
I'd
you're
be like,
certified.
exactly. I would be like, well, I gotta play Mario, obviously,
Yeah.
and I should really play like Horizon Zero Dawn, and I should.
The precedent you're setting here is that we have to shoot you in the throat to get you to play.
I didn't say you have to shoot me. I just said.
If he got
Wow.
shot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm like 80 years old.
Yeah.
I'm like a grandma who's like, I don't need, oh, that game is great. That's cool. Have you heard of this game? It's called a crossword puzzle. I get one of them a day in the newspaper, and it's intellectually stimulating, and I love it. So, like,
I
that's.
would never shoot you in the throat to get you to
Please.
play Undertale. I would never do that. It's not worth that much.
I wouldn't put about some of the Undertale fandom to go there.
I wouldn't shoot you anywhere,
I
like for any
appreciate that.
reason.
I'd maybe shoot you in the foot to get you to play Undertale. If it came to that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not that I'm not going to play Undertale. It's not like in my head.
I
I'm
just
going
need
like,
to be shot first. That's all.
Well, no, in my head, I'm not going, I'm never going to play it, but I don't want to tell people that. It's just like, I don't want to right now.
Just wait for Undertale 2.
No, it's like I one day I know that one day it'll happen where I'll be like, you know what? I'll knock it out.
Yeah.
What's that thing Fox always says about a tree? The best time to plant a tree is
But I'm
today.
already
That's right.
planting trees.
Yeah, but
all
plant
the
this,
time.
plant this tree. It needs the
That's
oxygen it provides.
But the metaphor
The world
doesn't.
needs it.
It's like, stop planting elk, start planting maples. I don't know.
Kind of Maplethorpe.
You've been planting the same oak for a long time, though.
That's correct.
so tall.
People keep grabbing the
They do,
acorns.
yeah.
dude.
No, I can't blame you.
People keep eating the acorns.
Oh God.
I like that metaphor. What the hell were we talking about? Black Friday. Yeah.
Black Friday deals. You
Yeah.
got any more in there?
No, I think I'm good.
Praise $20. Did we say that?
I may actually get
Prey's good.
Prey then.
Prey's really
because
good, yeah.
I need a new Subscriber Sunday game, and I think it would be a fun one.
Yeah.
It's good. It's like System Shock 2 a lot.
Can you tell me when you play it? We play it at the same time, and then we can actually talk about it on the show. Because I've
there
been
you
putting
go.
it off too, and I heard
need
it
to
was
finish
Stealth
it.
Metroidvania, which makes me want to play it.
I still stupidly, I got like that package from Bethesda that contained
Banana.
the banana holder and the coffee, and then it just did not have the code for the game. So I guess I will buy it for
I
$20.
actually got
$20
a package in the mail yesterday from Adult Swim, and it was for Battleship Brigade, and it was like a big piece of paper that said
Yeah.
Battleship Brigade is out. Code in your email. I don't have.
Yeah, I didn't get the email for that.
Did you get the Easy Bake Oven though?
No, they did not easy bake oven me.
They
just
say
Are
you an easy bake?
we B tier?
You might be
Yeah, we're
B tier.
now.
Well, that's why I'm like, I don't even want to. Adult Swim has sent me like every time I see people on Twitter opening packages that have things in them from Adult Swim, I'm like, definitely, I got to go check my PO box. But I don't want to because they're gonna make me pay customs on it.
Can you just
Let
not?
it sit there for years.
I can say I don't want to pay customs on this,
And they'll just
then
send it
they'll
back,
Send
or
it
they
back
just-
to Adult Swim.
Yeah.
I feel bad, but I don't need an Easy Bake Oven.
You can just
so
do it, man. Just send it back. It's okay.
I guess so.
They're not
Then
gonna
you just
Probably
then you
get
can
the
get what we
message.
get. We'll just get paper. You'll get a big box with a piece of paper in it and an apron.
I think it's kind of like it's a cool promo, but I live in like a 600 square foot apartment. I don't need.
Well, actually, you might be the
Swag.
ideal candidate for an easy bake oven when you think about
Yeah,
it.
good start. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, yeah, anyway. Black Friday deals. There we go.
I think I'm gonna get a Ford Fiesta. By the way, guys.
Are
Ooh,
you?
cool,
Yeah.
man.
So this is not necessarily the right environment for this, but you should be aware that there is a class action lawsuit against the Ford Motor Company.
Might
Happy
go for
Honda Days to you,
Toyota-
Mathis. Happy
Toyota Corolla instead. Then we'll see.
That like I have had no problems with my Focus. However, the transmission when you go like uphill does go like it kind of like shudders a little bit, and that's what the class action lawsuit is about. So,
What
It's
year?
supposed to do that.
Is it like is it
yeah, I think it's like 2012 to 2016 or something like that.
that's unfortunate. All right.
Test drive a Honda.
Happy Honda Days.
Yeah.
In the same vein, like the Mazda 3 is also very well liked, but I don't know if there's a price difference there.
I'll have to look. I just been looking at Corollas and Fords.
Car talk.
Car talk
Yeah, that's this show.
from people who I assume know nothing about cars.
Nothing
is
about
right.
that.
No, I know. Like, I know like the few brands I trust, and that's it.
I wonder who knows the least about cars between the four
Rob.
of us.
Oh, okay.
You think so?
I don't shit about cars.
I think I might be up there, to be honest.
Can you
Like,
change oil?
no,
Nope.
Okay.
No.
absolutely not.
I can change oil.
Oh,
you
dude,
might
you
be the
wow.
most.
You're the
I
car
can change
expert.
oil and I can change brakes.
Damn!
Can you identify?
change the brakes.
Yeah, I
You're
can
a
change
god.
the brake.
Why don't you go work
I
at
was
like
forced-
Meineke or something?
I was
That's,
forced to learn from my friend Scott from the D&D
Oh,
show.
yeah.
Back when I was a teenager, he's like, "No, you're not taking in to get brakes. We're gonna go buy brakes. and I'm gonna fucking teach you how to change brakes."
That
It's
does
like,
not surprise me, like,
cool.
even a little bit.
No, yeah, and that was it. We spent an entire afternoon and changing brakes.
Can you jump a car?
I can jump a car.
Yes.
Can you identify all the parts under the hood?
oh god,
No.
No.
Absolutely.
I can maybe point out, like, 3.
Like
Engine.
within reason,
I know,
though.
yeah,
like,
the engine,
The
general
battery,
gist of it.
the engine,
Battery, yeah.
and then maybe that's all, actually.
The coolant. You can probably find the coolant. You can probably find where the coolant goes.
the piece of metal that holds the hood open while you're underneath.
Oh,
it.
do you know the name of that thing, though?
Does that have a name?
I don't
It's
know.
a dipstick.
Dipstick.
No,
that's
no,
a
that's
different
the
thing.
oil.
That's what you put in the
No,
oil.
it's It's the other dipstick.
Oh. Dipstick B.
We're not car people.
Not car people.
I'm surprised. I am honestly surprised that I know more about cars than like Bear. I thought
I
Bear
can't
would know the
believe
most.
you'd change. It's like I would never change the brakes on my own car.
I very rarely do it myself.
If I messed up the oil, it's gonna do damage to the car. If I
Oil's
mess
super
up the brakes, I'm gonna die.
You're gonna die and spin out of control.
I want to dispel any illusion you have of me being a handyman, because that is just so far from the truth. Elise fixes everything in our house, dude. She's got the touch for that.
I fixed our dishwasher once.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Sweet.
Nice.
You know what? Honestly, YouTube.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Right. That's actually before I knew how to like change brakes and stuff. Like I changed the battery once, and I was so scared I was gonna electrocute myself. It took me like 3-4 hours to do it.
Wait, like were you changing the battery with your car on?
No.
Oh, see,
but I was still
mistake
afraid.
Wait,
number
why
one.
were you gonna electrocute yourself then?
It was all in here, man. It was all in here. I was
scary.
afraid.
Batteries store that energy, man.
Batteries are heavy.
Yeah.
They are extremely heavy. Yes.
It's like dark matter. All right. Nick, will you please tell me about Super Skelemania?
Oh yeah, I forgot. There's more to the show than car talk.
Right,
I was
yeah.
like off in another world there. All right, so Super Skelemania. We're calling it like a one-sitting Metroidvania game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's a very short, like maybe an hour-ish long Metroidvania game. You play as a little skeleton, and you run around in a world, a progressively evolving underworld, where you go through doors and find stuff and get yourself new powers. Like, it's really just that simple. There's not much to it other than you go collect stuff. There's some hidden areas with extra health points, like heart pieces, basically, to give yourself more HP. Other than that, though, it's mostly just running around trying to find out where you are and where you're going. And it's got a secret ending, and I actually beat the game twice in a row because I wanted to find that secret ending.
Nice.
It's a clever little puzzle, actually, that you've got to do to figure out how to get that. I will say I don't find the secret ending particularly gratifying, but it's there. So it's something to do on your second playthrough, and you can't do it on your first try unless you're somehow a genius. I don't know how you would do that.
YouTube.
Yeah,
There you
I
go,
guess well,
YouTube.
YouTube.
all
But
the
yeah,
answers.
despite me saying it's very short and it's not the most substantial game, it has incredibly gratifying movement
Yes.
and very classy, cute art. Like the art just feels like a really nice addition. Not to mention the soundtrack is extremely good. But yeah, the big star for me, and the reason I meant to play it immediately again after I was done with it, was the movement. If you know where those items are and you jump right to the ones that allow you to kind of just shoot yourself through each room, it feels fantastic to just fly around. It's almost like a perfect speedrunning game, honestly. And it actually rewards you, as there's an achievement for speedrunning it under 17 minutes, which is not unreasonable to think that could be done once you know where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
Probably get as low as, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes or something if you're really crazy about it.
So it's not like a roguelite. It's just like a small
Static world.
Metroidvania. Okay.
Yep. Very, very small little evolving branching world underneath, that's all.
Yeah. And yeah, like it's I called it a hyper concentrated Hollow Knight at the start of the show, and I think I can still stand by that analysis. I think it takes like all of the parts of that make it good and just like eliminates 90% of a game on top of that. You know, just like makes the
Cuts
most
the fluff out.
Yeah, exactly. Just makes the most pure Metroidvania platformer experience and just makes it really short too. So Ryan, I really think this is actually like right up your alley. I think you would really enjoy this. But
Yeah, as we've established, my preferences in games are games that are as much like menial work as possible, in the, like opus magnum. And then if it can't just be a simulation of doing something boring, then make it good and as short as possible.
Yeah.
Like
But I'm surprised you
30
haven't
or
played Stardew Valley then, because that's like just farming.
It's not short, though. Stardew
That's-
Valley's
yeah,
got
yeah.
some meat to it.
I don't want to derail it, but something about cartoon games that also have in-game dating kind of
Doesn't do it for you.
yeah.
It doesn't do it for me.
Fair
But I
enough.
hear
There's no
it's like
dating.
incredible.
This one I was mentioned. No dating at all.
Yeah,
actually,
no
in
dating in
Metroidvania.
Skelemania. So
The less features, the better. That's what I always say.
you just the thing about it too is like I showed the trailer on the stream here, and it kind of like that's a lot of the game is actually found within the trailer. So there's almost a little bit of a spoiler warning. But there's not a ton to expect. So there's a few little secrets, and like Nick said, there's also like a bigger thing at play. I found a little bit of that actually, and it was really exciting to say like, oh wow, yeah, it's not just a play this through to the end. There's a little bit more behind the scenes too, so that's kind of cool. But the other thing too, and Nick, you've already noted this quite a bit, but I want to hammer the point home. Like, it actually feels like really fun to play, especially after you get all the different moves. You just got like, I guess this is maybe a spoiler too, so a little bit of a warning here. But the moves you get the ground pound, which is pretty common. You get your dash. You get your what is it? It's not a.
You fling yourself.
It's
one of them.
Yeah.
You get a dash with a head charge that bangs through walls.
And then the other one, the one that I like the most, is you bowl your head, which is fun because it's not just like you get to shrink down and then you get into these other areas. It's actually like, okay, you got to bowl your head, but you keep moving until you hit a wall, so you have to accommodate for that as you're using it to get into these other areas, which usually is like accounted for with the design of the stage.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of Axiom Verge, how they kind of found a different way to do a morphing ball concept, but it's like a puzzle within itself. So it's got some clever creative things. It reminds me a little bit aesthetically of Cave Story at some points as well. Mm-hmm. And some of the animations reminded me of like Kid Chameleon and Blaster Master and stuff. So there's some nice little retro references in there that I don't know if are intentional.
Yeah.
But again, it's a very short game. I definitely recommend it if you like that type of thing. And it's, again, a really nice just feeling game to play. It's a very good... it's a good feeling.
Yep, definitely. Wholly recommended. It's a good time. It's $10.
How much is it?
$10.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Anything else to say? I liked it a lot, actually.
Yeah. It just left me with a positive impression. I just want that developer to make more games, and I want to play them.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
And his name is Ben.
Yeah.
It's Ben.
It's Ben.
Super Skelemania just came out last week. It's on Steam. It's $10. There you go. And go ahead and keep going here, Nick. Let me hear about Nimbatus.
Nimbatus or Nimbatus, depending on your proclivities. So it feels a little bit like a Captain Forever remix type game where you have some parts and you want to assemble a either autonomous or player-controlled drone. I say autonomous because there's actually logic gates you can apply to this thing. It gets pretty wild. But right now it's in early access, like pre-early access. It's actually a Kickstarter demo that they've already gotten their funding for, and there's not a lot of meat to it. But the end goal is it's a procedural generated universe, and you're going to go from planet to planet, accomplishing goals, unlocking new parts for your ship, which then allows you to either continue building on the same ship or build different ships that are suited to particular goals, and just kind of expanding out from there, building more and more wild designs as you go. And I played it for about 2 hours, maybe between 2 and 3 hours. I didn't get bored of it. And it did seem like there was enough versatility in the parts that you're given that you could easily stretch out even what's in it now in the pre-alpha to probably last like 10 hours. Granted, the goals, though, are extremely limited. It was just like blow up these bug nests and kill these turrets. Maybe there was more, but I didn't get far enough to see. I was mostly just focusing on the shipbuilding element, which is the editor is very effective, accessible, easy to do. It felt versatile enough, like I said, that you could get some stuff done, but also it didn't feel like you have infinite options, so you get lost in that. They give you, at least at the beginning, a pretty tight circle of constraint that you can build within, so you don't get sprawling too far. And you do actually have to kind of design it around different physics models. Some planets have more gravity than others, some might have no gravity, and that affects where you want to put the thrusters and why you would use one ship over another. Your goal might be inside of the planet, which you want to put some drills then, or if your goal is on the outside, maybe you want to be more agile to avoid the bug swarms and such. And again, this is just really a little minute snippet of what I think is probably going to end up in it later. And when they start really elaborating on those goals with more detail, I think what will really come alive is creativity with how you design the ships to suit those goals. Mm-hmm. And like I mentioned, there's logic gates in it, which are a huge deal. If you're actually into programming to some degree, you can actually set up a bunch of different configurations where if you press X, Y will happen. And that can be suited to a bunch of different situations. So I guess the goal there is, if you want, you could maybe just make the drone completely react on its own to whatever's going on. I don't know if there's enough sensors yet, though, to do that now, but maybe that's where they're going. And they did mention there's going to be some multiplayer, some combat drone-to-drone stuff. So maybe they'll set it up like a BattleBots thing, and you'll fight against each other that way. But right now, I definitely recommend taking a look at it. You can't buy it yet, but it seems pretty cool. And if you want to go try out the Kickstarter demo, it doesn't cost you anything.
Dope. It looks really interesting. There's definitely a Captain Forever remix vibe coming off of it, and
Yep.
yeah, it just
And I mean, Captain Forever Remix isn't the first to do that either.
Right,
That's
yeah,
also
yeah.
sort of iterative. I just keep forgetting what the original one, Reassembly or something.
yeah. I think that was actually what they list as one of their inspirations for this too. So
Yeah.
that makes sense. And then Besiege does it too with their whole, it's not the same theme, but more or less the same kind of gameplay style of putting
Yeah.
different parts together to assemble some massive machine.
It struck a nice balance of accessible while also being deep, and I think that's what really got me there.
Yeah, definitely. All right, cool. Nimbatus can't pick it up yet, but coming down the pipeline. They got the Kickstarter and it's done, right? The Kickstarter already
Yeah,
met its goal and
Kickstarter is
everything.
funded. They're just working on it, and I don't know when it's done exactly. I think it might be next year, early-ish.
Cool.
Just something to watch.
Well, there you go. All right. Mathis, tell me a little bit about They Are Billions, please.
They Are Billions is a Mathis game. It's an interesting mix between a colony builder like Banished and an RTS like StarCraft or Warcraft. There's no base that you're fighting against, but you're plopped down in this world, and the world is surrounded and infested with zombies everywhere, and they will occasionally wander your way and try and bust in, and every once in a while you get a warning like, hey, there's a big horde heading your way, get ready to deal with them. All the while, you're building tents and you're building like sawmills and stuff for resources. And just basically you're trying to expand and survive as many days as you can. You kind of set the difficulty by saying, all right, in this run, I want to survive for 100 days. So you pick 100 days as the difficulty, and then from there, you get plopped in. You're just trying to survive for 100 days as you're building walls and turrets and soldiers and just kind of doing this colony-style expansion while also really focusing on your mini-map to see where the enemies are coming from, because simple things can happen where, like, it happened to me where I thought I was good, and I had walls up and I had turrets up, but I had, like, a little weakness in a wall that I wasn't paying attention to, and one zombie got through and started beating on one of my tents, and once the tent goes down from its yellow health into green, the tent becomes infected, and then it spawns, like, 4 zombies. And then they move on to the next tent, and they just start doing the same thing. So one zombie getting through your walls and infecting one of your tents can cause this chain reaction that your whole town becomes infected and it's just overrun by zombies just because you were not focusing. So it requires a lot of micromanagement and a lot of attention on your colony, I guess. The theme is cool because it's steampunk. You don't see a lot of steampunk games kind of do this thing, but the mechanics are not anything new. It's still very early on in development. They were doing like the beta key style thing. I don't even think it's available on Steam yet. You had to buy it through their website, and then they sold. I don't know how you sell out, but they sold out of beta keys, and you can't really buy it unless you buy like a $250 package nowadays. But it's cool. Like it's really engaging. I enjoy it for in like an hour you go through like 30 days, so it's relatively quick on how fast the days go by. It's difficult. And it's challenging, but you always know what you did wrong. Like in that aspect, I was like, where did the zombie come from? Oh, there's a little gap in my wall that I didn't see. And I didn't have any guards over there patrolling. So this thing just wandered in and just attacked my tent and just ruined an entire colony because I wasn't paying attention at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool. And I'm excited to see what they do with development, because early on there's little interesting ideas of like colony management where once your town exists for a few days, you have to pick a mayor, and the mayor gives one of a couple of bonuses, and you kind of like, okay, on this run, do I want really quick Tesla towers, or do I want really quick defenses? And making those kinds of decisions I think would add a lot to the replayability.
Yeah.
Right now I think that's the only decision you make, but having that there is a good sign, I think, for that kind of decision making.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun.
How's it run when you start to get like thousands of zombies on
Fine.
screen? Yeah,
Didn't have any issues with it running for me so far at all. But I mean, I haven't been able to make it past like day 40. So, and the hordes only get bigger and bigger and bigger as you play. So maybe when they overrun. But it has a typical, like, zombies are not threats on their own. They're only threats when you're either A, not paying attention, or B, they come in numbers that you just can't manage, which I enjoy.
Yeah, makes sense.
But it's cool. Yeah, I like it. It's
Zoop. So second in a row of games that you can't yet get yourself, but will soon be available to you. Looking like maybe still 2017 is their target, but
I'm not sure.
let's see.
I only had just heard of it, so
Yeah. They have not finalized the release dates. Just says coming
That's
soon.
probably good, because it still feels early.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's They Are Billions. Let me tell you about a game you can buy right now, and I should also introduce this with the caveat that it is a game that I was paid to play on my channel. Hold on. I gotta make sure I spell it right. I get it wrong every time because it's Uurnog Uurnlimited. It's available right now over on Steam. It is a new kind of Metroidvania platformer, and it's interesting. I like it, but I also don't think I'm going to finish it because mostly because I don't really like this style of game as much. But this one I like enough for a couple of reasons. One, it's cute and quirky, and I like the presentation of it. There's like all these adorable little blocky characters that you're working with, and it's got kind of this neat little retro aesthetic to it. The backgrounds, like with the parallax scrolling and everything, remind me a little bit of Kingdom too with their design, which isn't too surprising given it's published by Raw Fury. But yeah, the gameplay itself, you go through trying to solve all these puzzles, and the puzzles utilize all the different objects that are found throughout the world. So you'll have things like a slime block that you can use with the X button, and that will impact all the other different objects in your area. Or you can pick up like a bird, for example. You could start flying around with that. You can pick up like a turret guy that you can use as a weapon. There's a few different options for items that you can pick up and hold, and that's like primarily how things change. Is you yourself can't really do a lot, but you can interact with all those different objects in the world that will have different interactions with other things depending on where you are. So that's where all the puzzles and all the platforming come from, is those different objects. And simultaneously, while you're using those objects, you're also meant to be collecting them and bringing them back to like the hub world. So when you solve these puzzles, you'll typically be rewarded with either like some gems that you can, either gems or coins. Gems you want to like bring back and save for later, and then turn them into coins, which you can use to purchase things from the shop in one of the different sections. But you'll also occasionally find a key, and then a key will just unlock a new area, and then that's just how you progress to get to the different places, find the different objects, bring them all back to the central hub, and eventually I assume that's how you like win the game and proceed to the final area, whatever ends up happening. Yeah, that's the gist of it. It is, like I said, it's just really, it's got a cute, quirky look to it, and if you enjoy like a platformer puzzle sort of aesthetic, or gameplay style rather, with this sort of aesthetic, it's definitely going to be something up your alley. Like I said, like I don't think it's going to be something I'd finish, but the 2 hours I played, I definitely enjoyed. So it was a pretty good time.
Were you saying that the progress gating is done through random drops?
No. So it's like you'll complete a puzzle, and depending on what puzzle it is, you'll either be rewarded with like you'll get to the top of one and it'll have like 50 gems, or you'll get to the top of one and it'll have like a key that will unlock access to the next area. Does that make sense?
I thought the keys might have been a random drop, in which case that's like a really weird.
Yeah,
call.
that'd be very strange. I agree. No, it's all linear. Nothing random about it, as far as I can tell, anyway. Yeah, cool. So that's Uurnog Uurnlimited. It is $15, currently 10% off until the 28th. You can get it on Steam. And then let's talk a little bit about Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. Nick, I want to hear your experience.
I don't want to go first.
I want you to go first. Can you go first?
You basically just start as you would start a normal Animal Crossing game until you realize it just is taking you through a really long set of mobile game tutorials. The way Ryan was talking about it earlier, how they sort of established different currencies and stuff. They don't really do that in this as much, because really the only currency aside from usual bells is just they have these paper tickets, which are just actual dollars.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of funny. But they just take you through a series of tutorials for like really easy to figure out stuff that feels a little bit patronizing, but I understand they're making it super accessible. I have to really try hard to not come across sounding really condescending, but as somebody who's played a lot of Animal Crossing, I just found the whole presentation lacking in a general sense. Once you get into the actual proper game, the tasks are like, go find some fruit and bring it to your friend. And it's like, but this is normal for Animal Crossing. I'm not upset about that. But then we have like a party after we get the fruit, It's like, this took me 1 second to go pick the fruit from the tree and walk over, and now we're having a party.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
sure. But now we have to like go recruit our friend to come to our camp. And why are we doing that exactly? Oh, to show off the objects we have in our camp to other people, because they're kind of training you to go find real people to bring them to your camp to reinforce how you should be buying stuff. I'm sorry, I'm going too far already. I'm really cynical about Animal Crossing because it's a really kind of sweet, quirky, pure little game.
Yeah.
And I don't like seeing those monetization things creep into it. It kind of just hurts me to look at.
No, it's
What
like,
about you?
yeah, I'm with you because it's impossible to ignore, and it's, I guess we have to be more permissive of it, given that this is where we were accepting of it, right? This is the platform where it's okay because they had to make money somehow, right? Right?
I would have paid $10 for it if it was just a regular Animal Crossing game.
Sure, but because it's free on mobile, that means they have to do this. But I agree with you that they are just sort of like it really is difficult to not interpret it as the game was designed just to shoehorn you into wanting to buy microtransactions like as early and often as possible, and it's egregious. So
they take you through this pattern that's like, well, okay, now it's time to craft. Okay, now we're gonna craft. We need to take our objects, give them to the people who craft, and now we have to wait. But wait, maybe you don't want to wait. Let's spend this virtual dollar we just gave you to not wait. Like, can you not? Can we just not do that?
Yeah,
I know, but that's the whole point, though.
And
then everybody's talking about objects all the time. It's like, I just want to collect and have fun. I don't want to talk about money.
I don't even want to talk too much about this because I think we both very much agree on this point. So we'd just be circle jerking each other a little bit. But
you're right.
It's bad, and this is.
I want to just delete it. I'm done with it already.
Like you said, it's such a pure experience, and for them to have bastardized it this way is just so disappointing. But yeah, there you go.
I don't understand it, and I feel like I've said it like 20 times over the course of today's show about various things.
Yeah.
But I played kind of a lot of the new 3DS Animal Crossing like 4 years ago, and even when I was playing it, I was like, I sort of don't get it. Like, I just don't like the mayor. I feel like I'm in indentured servitude, and then like they yell at me when I play it at night. They go, "Everyone's asleep, you idiot! No one's gonna
hell off your three."
So,
play the game on our terms, you stupid idiot.
But you become the mayor.
Eventually, I guess.
I think
And then
like,
you can put a town like resolution that says, stay open late at night. Basically, it's like, I'm a nighttime player, and then
it gives you an hour. It gives you an extra hour.
Is it only an hour?
Yeah, it's only an hour.
You're supposed to change the system clock apparently, but then
But they yell at you for that too, usually.
I'm not gonna do that either way. But or maybe not the mayor, whoever the dude is who's
Tom Nook.
Tom Nook. He's like, you have to live here until you pay your debt or something. It's basically like you're in jail. But I sort of, the way I understand it, is that it's supposed to be like a pleasant kind of pseudo-casual sort of experience. Like it's just a pleasant place to hang out and do mini game sort of stuff. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's about what Animal Crossing is.
Okay.
It's oddly almost exactly what a lot of mobile games tried to make, only it was way before mobile games existed.
Yeah.
It just didn't have that model yet to cling on to. So if they would have done it just right, I feel like they could have really nailed it. It's just they chose to go for the easy approach instead of what fits the game.
Is it like a better version of those Facebook games where you make a town with farms and you have to...
It just
gather
is that.
That's what I mean.
Is it Animal Crossing in general?
Well, yeah. If it looks better, it's not like an Age of Empires 2.
You don't build the town.
Okay.
You exist in the town. You kind of befriend the animals in the town, and you can in the new one you can kind of put landmarks around the town, but other than that, where the animals move in is not decided by you. It's wherever they're moving in. It's literally the game for me. I think for a lot of people, it's just a turn on for 20 to 30 minutes and just relax and just chill to the relaxing music, wander around and catch a bunch of fish to collect all the fish and all the bugs. There's a lot of collecting mini games.
It's mostly all collecting.
Yeah.
It's just different varieties of fill the museum up with all the artifacts you can find.
Yep.
Get every single fish in the whole thing. Get every single bug. Collect every single painting and every object to put in your house. And that's fine by itself as long as it's not kind of being used to shoehorn in what could be a rather endless string of purchases.
Yeah.
Kate's been playing a bunch of it, and I've abstained because I've been practicing for Champions of Fire. So if I'm going to be playing a game on my phone, I want it to be like for that purpose right now. But if she's still into it in like 2 weeks, I'll probably download it.
Let me know if she feels similarly too about the microtransactions, because I'm sure she's been able
For
to.
the most part, I think Kate does not exist in our insular bubble.
Yeah?
Because I was like, hey, your like beach area looks pretty nice there, and she's like, yeah, I spent like $40 on it.
Oh.
And I was like,
Oh
I
no!
she's not beholden to the same standards we are.
That, I mean, she kind of proves our point, though, a little bit, like, in a roundabout way, though. Like, yeah, it's pretty easy to spend some money on that, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think she's not manipulated into it. She's just
Oh,
like,
no, yeah, but
that's how much it costs, and I want it, so I'm gonna buy it.
that's like, we're gonna, never mind, fuck it. I don't want to go down that road again.
I'm ready, baby. Grab me. Let's go. Kate Chat's like Kate's the whale. She's a whale.
Yeah,
She is, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, so
Kate's purchase covers like 100 people who don't buy it.
There you go. You should be thanking her.
Yeah.
Or maybe you shouldn't.
depending on your perspective. It's Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. It's a scam. Let's talk about a different game. Let's talk about Supraball. It's the new esports phenomenon. Ryan, tell me about your impressions of Supraball, please.
Supraball is it's a first-person shooter that is also soccer or football, depending on where you're from, I suppose. So essentially, it's 3v3 or 5v5. The ball goes around. You can capture it in your gun and then charge up a shot and shoot it on net, or you can pass it to your teammates. If somebody is holding the ball, you can shoot them and cause them to drop the ball, and you can do all sorts of cool trick shots and put spin and English on it and stuff. It is free to play on Steam with online multiplayer. One of the strangest launchers I think I've ever seen on Steam. And it launches
really
it launches like an application from 1995 for matchmaking, and then when you get into a game, it actually loads the game. But I thought it was pretty fun, albeit a little bit busy. It's kind of like Rocket League without cars, which I know people are going to say is just soccer, but it's like if the cars if the cars in Rocket League were guns, then that's what it is.
That's a really strange image in my mind. A bunch of guns floating around shooting at each other, a ball.
But it's not far off as a description of the game.
There's like the AIM character, like the avatar from AIM logo is what we play as.
Yes, I see that.
And it has loot crates.
That too.
Does it?
I didn't even realize
Yeah,
that.
yeah. When you level up, you get another roll of the loot crate dice, and you get like different hats or something.
Nick, what were your impressions?
It's just a fun little sports game. I seem to really like these like competitive, cooperative online sports games that we keep running into. Even when they're really shoddy, like Ball 3D, I always have a good time with them. I guess it just makes me remember the good times I had when I was playing basketball or something when I was a kid. It's like we're just dicking around having fun, which is great. And it's free on top of it, so that's nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll always be free, but it's free right now.
I think this, I mentioned how, like, I think Ryan actually was the one that joked, like, one of us is going to end up having, like, 30 hours in this within the next couple of weeks, but, like, the skill ceiling on this, I think, is actually, like, really high, because you can see us just dicking around in here. We don't really know what we're doing. It's, like, 5-on-5. Yeah. We're just shooting it around and just having fun. And that's still fun, too. Like, that version of the game is fine, and it's a good time, and if you, like, only have a few friends, there's the 3v3 mode as well, which is probably just as good. So that's good, but the skill ceiling is, like I said, pretty high up there, I feel. There's a lot of things you can do. You can curve your shot. You can kind of dribble a little bit. Like, while you're holding the ball, you can't use the shift move that gives you a little quick boost, but you can shoot the ball really quickly in front of you, boost up to it, and then pick it up again, and, like, do all these little subtle things to improve your game a little bit. And I really wish we would have had, like, I think you guys mentioned there was a developer that joined maybe one of your games before when you were playing it. Might have been Rob, actually, that was saying this, but he said, like, the developer is just absolutely insane, just dancing around, you know, like curve shots off the wall and shit like that. I wish I could have seen that firsthand, because I bet it looks impressive. And I bet this could actually be an entertaining esports game as well, genuinely. Like, if there were 3-on-3 games of dudes that were really good at this, I would probably watch that. That would be pretty impressive.
But not Ball 3D, huh?
Not Ball 3D. Not
I'm
quite.
so disappointed.
Where's the ESL backing for Supraball, goddammit? The ESL is all about that Ball 3D action. They're in the wrong
Yeah,
sport.
Ball 3D had esports everywhere.
Yeah.
But not in this.
They've got, like, the presentation even, man. Like, you remember those cutscenes they were playing when we would descend on the arena
Yeah.
and everybody's going crazy? They got the lights and smoke and all that shit. Like, it's cool.
I kind of want to play 3v3 more than 5v5 because my expectation is that you don't immediately just get destroyed as
Yeah, I
soon as
agree.
you touch the ball.
Blasted, yeah.
Like, yeah, we had like we were always getting gummed up at the midfield. As soon as somebody touched the ball, you're just like your camera flips 180 degrees and you're on the ground.
Yeah.
It's jarring too. It turns red and you shake around a lot. I'm like, can I not do that?
Looks fun.
I think you'd enjoy it too, Mathis. It's a good time. Like, it brings out that competitiveness that we all have deep within us that we suppress when we're trying to be all friendly and cordial. But when this,
Is this the next Rocket League?
dude, I don't think I'm gonna get into it. Honestly, like, I'm not gonna be the one that gets to be amazing at this, but Austin will after playing it for 3 hours. So that's for damn sure.
Tournament of Shame, yeah. How about
Oh, it
that?
could be a tournament of shame, actually. Yeah, that wouldn't
Yeah,
be too
but
bad.
how though?
We could do one-on-one, maybe. Would
Is
that
there
work?
even a one-on-one? I don't think there is.
That might be a little. I don't know.
Also, I don't really want to do that anymore.
It's also fair,
One-on-one,
yeah.
full size.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe it wouldn't work.
Just
as well.
running and running and shooting. And
It's good though. It's a good time, and it's free, like you said. So yeah, it's not really a big risk either. But there you go, Supraball. It's fun.
Cool.
Supraball.
Supraball. There you go. All right. Well, hey, I'm going to open up the chat here. Not that it's been closed, but I'm going to open up my chat and say, hi, chat. How's it going? Let's talk with chat. We're going to take questions from you guys. Use @Roundtable Podcast. We got a little bit of time here at the end of the show, so we'll go ahead and talk to you guys for a bit. If there's any questions, anything that came up this week, or anything you want to follow up with perhaps about a previous show, feel free to ask us here in the chat. We'll take some questions for a little while as we close out the show here. And thanks for being here, y'all. A couple people were asking about whether or not we want to have George Fan on the show, who was the subject of Edmund's conversation from last week. And I believe the plan is to have him on sooner or closer to the Octagon release. So that's
which would be early next year.
yes. So he's not going to be on probably in 2017. I think we expect to have him on early in 2018 though.
But we do have Bennett Foddy coming on the 8th, so that's good. Which is the one after next week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very exciting stuff. Oh, yeah, we did skip Quake on the docket as well. Yeah, sorry about that. We were going to hold off on that till closer to the actual release of that one as well, because Nick played you played like a...
I played the sort of early access, sort of out version. It's the Humble Monthly Bundle Edition, which gave you a few more levels, but not much else. So I had some mixed opinions, and I figured let's just move it until the game's actually done, and then I can actually critique it properly instead of just take guesses at what it's going to end up being.
Makes sense.
Somebody asked Bear, do you have the time?
To listen to me whine.
That's right.
I know.
There it is.
I know what people
I'm just
are
waiting
doing.
for one of us to forget and say, oh, it's 7:49.
Elder Horse God wants to know, have any of you guys played Dead Cells since the Brutal update? Yes, it's very good.
Bear has.
It's
I watched
it. It is good. I am looking forward to the final version of that game. Very quickly reminded me how fucking fun Dead Cells is to play, picking it up again. Man, that game is enjoyable. And the big issue that remains with that game, that was a big issue with Enter the Gungeon for the longest time, and I don't even know if they ever like addressed it, is the fact that like the first probably 10 minutes or so of every run is so boring. It's so boring, man. Like, you're doing the same stuff every single time, and I know what I'm doing at this point. It's just like, let me just skip it by now. I can't stand the grind of killing those green zombies early on anymore in that one. But
How
How
do
does like a
you
game
solve-
like Isaac maintain fun for the first 5 to 10 minutes, but this doesn't?
well, I think it's
Because you get a random item.
yeah, exactly.
A loot box, if you will.
But what makes the beginning of Dead Cells better is when you're later on in the game and you've actually unlocked the ability to get a random starting weapon or a random starting shield or something like that, or have at least like, you know, a semblance of variety in the beginning 10 minutes, because otherwise you just pick up the rusty sword and you're mashing X forever until you get to the next place.
Do you still always take strength?
No, actually. So that's another thing as well. So they really worked on rebalancing a couple of things. Primarily the fact that everyone always took strength all the time because that's all that mattered.
Yeah.
But they addressed that. So now you've got brutality, tactics, and survival are the three things now. So it's still red, purple,
So
and
now
green.
you always take brutality.
No, see, like that's what I thought too. That's what I did the first time. But then I went on another run and I went all survival. And they didn't just do that; they also assigned colors to all the different items that you pick up. So you are you're affecting when you pick up like survival, for example. If you take that without any green items, it doesn't really help you nearly as much because
Nice.
while you're adding on 20% of your health pool, it's not adding on damage to anything else. But if you took like tactics, for example, there, you might add more damage to a weapon that you had. So you got to make those evaluations there. There's also colorless items that you get out of curse chests now, which are really cool because they scale with the highest number regardless of what it is. So you can build around something else and still have your weapon scale up properly. So that's really cool too. And then the other thing that they fixed was shields, which are good now. Finally, like shields are actually usable in the game, which is great. So that's good too.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah. Jatama wants to know thoughts on the upcoming Game Awards. We're actually, you know what? Fuck it. I'll put you guys on the spot. You interested in doing a restream of that on the Roundtable
What is
podcast? The Game Awards.
But when?
December
When?
7th.
When is it?
December 7th. It's, what is that, a Thursday? I think it's a Thursday.
What time? December 7th is a Thursday,
Let
which means I
me look it up.
might have D&D. So
Ah, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we might restream it, maybe not. But yeah, that's December 7th, starts at 5:30 Pacific.
This is like a kind of pretentious opinion, but I can't take the Game Awards seriously. And I said this like 2 years ago and last year, but maybe 3 years ago now I think about it. But I can't take the Game Awards seriously as long as they have a most anticipated game category. It completely undermines the idea of like it being a critical assessment of the medium.
I don't disagree because it's not an award. It's like to give an award to a game that doesn't exist yet is like inherently.
Actually, it makes it like the MTV Movie Awards.
Yeah.
Instead of being like the Oscars. And I remember there was like 2 years ago. By the way, I no disrespect meant to Jeff Keighley at all. I understand it's like an expensive production. There's a lot of risk
Advertisement
involved.
awards.
But that's sort of what I mean because they also did that one. I think it was last year or 2 years ago. It must have been 2 years ago now I think about it. They were like, hey, by the way, over the course of the show, we've made it so Dungeon Defenders 2 is in the top 10 Steam bestsellers worldwide. Get like round of applause. And I was like,
Oh,
You're
you
the awards.
advertised something.
you're the awards. You can't do that. And then like you can't have both of them. You can't be like, we're going to praise the critical darlings. And then on the other side is also like, best trailer. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Chick
know.
Hydrobot also gets to me a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm like I want to be there for the next iteration of that is the thing. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Spike 59169 asks, "Can you guys recommend a good mobile game to pass the time?" And I'm glad he asked that. I feel like we need to try to get on the other side of that one. So, do you have anything that you've been particularly interested in? Any of the games that you've been practicing on? I know you said a few of them are actually legitimately good,
Dude,
right? Right?
Pac-Man 256 and Crossy Road are both good games. Like those are games that are they do have microtransactions, but especially Crossy Road, essentially you don't have to put any money into it. Pac-Man, if you want to speed up your progress towards unlocking like good power-ups, then yes. But yeah, I would definitely, from the Champions of Fire pool, recommend both of those.
Nick, you got any?
I have a daily grind of playing Hyper Heroes, which is just exactly what those gacha games are. So don't like take that super seriously, but I have resolved to never spend any money on it. And it's just a personal obsession about collecting and getting stronger. And I also have some cost fallacy now. I've already spent 3 months on it. Anyway, you can try that if you want, but also you cannot. I would say Professor Layton, the new one, is really good. And it works on both iPad and phone. So if you have any interest, it's a full game.
Mathis, how about you?
No.
None. Got it.
I'm not playing that on mobile.
Okay, so I actually do want to have this conversation. P Squared asks, PUBG eligible for Game of the Year, yay or nay? So we asked Edmund his opinion about this. He doesn't give a fuck, which, good for him.
Yeah.
But, like, I want to know genuinely how you guys feel about it. So, Take the floor, anybody.
Why?
Because it's unfinished, unoptimized, and runs like Garbo.
Yeah, but so are a lot of games that are in version 1.0.
So they shouldn't be nominated for Game of the Year.
It didn't say nominated, it said eligible.
Or eligible.
But why shouldn't it be eligible?
Because they need to be playable.
It's playable!
Arguable.
No, there's a lot of things that dislike PUBG for. It's playable. Like millions of people play it every day.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Nick?
Nah. I'm just going to say I don't know.
What does that even mean? It's just nah.
I'm too biased. I don't think my opinion counts in this.
Yeah, all right. That's fair.
Whether or not you think it's good enough to be nominated, I'm less concerned about.
Yeah.
I think there is a discussion to be had about, like, should early access games be nominated?
No.
But
Period. No.
why not? Because they exist.
So? They can have their own category, early game access of the year.
What is it? But it's all arbitrary to begin with. What if an early access game is the game I had the most fun with within the course of a year?
Then that was a bad year for video games.
This is a complete straw man argument.
It's just you totally dismissed it.
Because the games aren't finished. If we're talking within the
They're
confines
never
of
finished.
Okay.
we're talking within the confines of awarding it an award, which you have already said is arbitrary in your mind in the first place. But if we're going to award it an award, the game needs to be in 1.0 and out.
But 1.0 doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean much these days, is what.
But neither does the award. That's the point.
I agree
We're
with
trying
you
to
on
fit
that.
this into a box, so we're going to keep it within that box.
Do you think there's some implicit bias with a game going, okay, this is our potential, even though we haven't maybe reached it? Do you think that's affecting people's opinion of that game and how they might receive it?
I honestly don't think so.
Okay.
I think that people genuinely love PUBG.
I'm not saying that they don't.
Here's my problem with the whole early access thing. People are like, well, why don't you just say like a game gets Game of the Year in early access every year? No, my perspective is that if it came out in like 2015 in early access, it should be eligible for Game of the Year. It started to be for sale on the marketplace at that time. You know, if you make it Game of the Year in 2016, I think that's a little weird. If you make it Game of the Year, you know, in 2017 with its version 1.0, that's another conversation that is a little strange. But like, if there's like a 10 out of 10 early game and it's going up against a bunch of 9.5 out of 10s that are version 1.0, I don't see why it should be excluded just because of the label.
Because the version 1.0 game is quantified in reality as exactly what its deficiencies are, when the game that's not done may still be able to improve.
They all might, though, because like when we hit version 1.0, you know, people are chained into making updates to the game forever.
Yeah.
Forever is
It's an arbitrary line in the sand. I guess it's just sort of an idealistic version for me.
Like, there's no, like, the ESRB isn't being like, this is 1.0. The developer is like, we're done. Like, this is where we're going to arbitrarily be like, this is the feature list that we set for 1.0.
It's becoming, like, it still means something. It's not meaningless inherently, the idea of version 1.0. Like, that still has value, but it's becoming less and less of a definite thing. It's becoming like you have to, in early access, if you go into early access, you have to have, before you release it, an idea of what the finished game looks like, right? You have to have in mind, this is what we want to go for. And PUBG had that, and they have not yet reached that. So for this specific instance,
and much like other early access games, they add to that list as well.
Yeah, that's true too.
Early access games have this problem where they trap themselves in early access because suddenly they have money and now they want to do all these other things. Star Citizen is another phenomenal example of an early access game that doesn't know where it wants to launch. It's a game that constantly is adding to its what we want for 1.0 list. So PUBG could win it for this year, but PUBG may not ever be fucking released for all we know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll not damn them with faint praise until it's actually out, but they're still talking about releasing 1.0 in December.
Yeah.
At least at the last I heard. But I don't know. The way I see it, it works in reverse. If I see a bad game in early access, I go, maybe it'll get better. If I see a bad game that's quote-unquote version 1.0 or out, then I'm like, it's done. But I don't think like an early access label necessarily makes it less eligible to be the best game of the year. Mind you, do I think that PUBG is a Game of the Year candidate that is like legitimate? Probably not. It's the game. People who play the game hate it for the most part. Like everybody who plays it ends up being angry at it at some.
Well, the thing with PUBG, and I think we've all talked about this before, is that it's the first game to take an idea that we've seen in mods and do it well, with quotations around it. It's a game. It's taken that idea and actually made a game out of it that is in and of itself, sellable. It's not a mod of any sort. It's just gonna. I mean, Fortnite is not a great example of that type of style of game either. But as we see, it's just gonna take a game that's gonna come out with a budget behind it to knock it off the throne, I think.
My perspective comes down to this. I actually, and I genuinely believe what I'm about to say. I'm not just playing devil's advocate. I don't think there's a correlation between game quality and whether it's in early access or not. I think the idea that early access games tend to be worse is blown out of proportion. I played a lot of absolutely garbage version 1.0 games. I think there's a lot of really, really bad examples of early access stuff that is just profit farming. And doing it maybe even in an unethical way. But for the most part, I think early access, again, the developer chooses what to put early access on and what not to put early access on. There's no regulatory body that is like, bad, but you're working on it, and, bad, but for some reason you've hit this feature list, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's at their own discretion. I think there's probably not as much of a correlation as people think, at least.
When I think of early access, though, I think of beta most of the time. And the reason I think of that is because it's not polished yet. Sometimes it's still even alpha because it's not feature complete. And sometimes that list, like Mathis said, keeps growing. You're not going to work on polish until your features are all in. So I feel like designating early access is going to put you in one of those camps that polish is not done.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
No, I agree.
So that kind of, to me, says early access does mean it's probably worse quality.
We can talk about like counter examples all day.
It's so subjective, though.
It's the thing. Kerbal Space Program, Prison Architect, Darkest Dungeon, Factorio, RimWorld, every Zachtronics game over the last 6 years.
Yeah. A lot of the reason it's debatable now, though, is not even it's because the AAA developers, for Christ's sake, release demos that they call beta, meaning beta and alpha are meaningless terms at this point.
They're just promotional tools, really.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The terms are now just meaningless. So,
I need PUBG to win Game of the Year, though, because of the response it will generate, because that will just be chaos.
What's it up against?
It's going up against Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild,
Zelda, Horizon,
Persona 5. Persona 5, probably, nobody's going to be upset if that doesn't win. I think they understand the competition that goes up against it. Which is, it was so good, but it's, not going to beat Mario also.
It's niche comparatively, unfortunately.
So, and, Horizon was the other one, too. So it's if PUBG beats out all four of those, people are just going to lose their fucking minds, man.
But in a way, I actually agree with you that the labels are meaningless. And that's why I default to the idea that, a game should be eligible in, the year of when it first becomes for sale, I guess. But where that does create a problem is what if something comes out in early access in, 2013, and then 7 years later, it comes out and it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But I think you give up the right to that to some extent if you're selling your product 7 years ago. It's what happened with Minecraft. It's like Minecraft won Game of the Year for what felt like 9 years in a row. It came out in alpha and everyone was like, this is amazing, Game of the Year. And then they're like, okay, well now it's this is the real release, Game of the Year.
Yeah, Edmund knows all about that.
Tablet version, Game of the Year. I also don't care about awards at all. But I think that it's better to broaden what gets included instead of narrowing it. I think it gives you a more representative view of what was actually the best.
I'm glad they started doing that perpetual category now as well. I think they're starting to realize they need to kind of adapt the categories to the current state of gaming because things are so drastically different now.
I'm just mad Hollow Knight isn't on anything.
It got an independent game nom, didn't it?
It isn't?
I'm pretty sure.
It is on
best debut indie game.
Yeah, best debut. That's what it was. Yeah, if you go all the way down to the bottom of the list, you should be able to see it.
I guess I'm happy that's there. Then.
Yeah. It didn't make okay. So hold on, let me check the website again because I don't think it made the cut for the best independent game. Right? That might have been the one that I missed out on. But that was man, it's stiff competition this year, dude. There's so many good ones. I'm trying to find the list again here. Best independent release.
When's TomoQuest hit early access? Then we can really judge.
Well, the other conversation that we definitely do not have time for, there's 5 weeks left in the year, and I'm like, shit, am I going to be the guy who names PUBG my game of the year?
Yeah, you are.
You gotta play Mario, please. Just boot it up for the love of God. If that's gonna be what happens, man, we gotta save you from yourself.
And
But I
don't
have,
throw us
like-
Cuphead out of just some sort of mercy.
Cuphead should be PUBG for your game of the year.
I have to be honest with myself. I literally have 400 hours in PUBG.
Yeah.
It's like, I have to weigh that at pretty highly. Like, I probably have like 6 times more
like-
hours in PUBG than I have anything in anything else this year.
70% of that work, though?
Well, I mean, yes, but like 90% of me playing video games is essentially on camera.
I know. I just mean, would you have played all of that many hours if it wasn't such a thing?
Well, would I have kept the series going if it wasn't fun?
Yeah.
I guess is the other analog.
Yeah, you see both
Like,
sides of it.
It's it's like me. I'm the dude at the Oscars who's like, "Yo, did you see Civil War?" Like, I get that it's a comic book movie, and like, Moonlight is pretty good, but Civil War was a lot of fun. I watched it 6 times, right? Like,
Somebody in the chat said water's I like water, but it's not my favorite beverage. So I don't know how.
yeah, but I mean,
How does that map?
that's what I mean. Like, that's basically what I mean. It's like, yeah, okay, you could apply the argument to make it look ridiculous in either fashion.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
of course, you don't give movies that are halfway through development, an Oscar nomination for Best Picture. It's also a completely different industry. When you watch a movie like the first, here's the director's cut because I'm a Kickstarter backer, and then in a year when it's edited, we'll get nominated again.
Mhm.
Of course, I haven't played 90% of the games that we've released this year. There's like 100 a day.
Yeah.
It's a false dilemma to say that you have to play everything to give a game of the year list.
I don't think anyone has played 10% of the games released this year. I'm pretty
It's
sure
mad,
literally
But you
no
can
one has
hit the
done that.
highlights, though, to be fair.
Yeah. It was Pyre, Night in the Woods, Cuphead, What Remains of Edith Finch, and Hellblade was the best independent, which I would probably put Hollow
Right.
Knight above a couple of those, to be honest, but oh well.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
But they got some good ones, too.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job. Oh, Stegger, I saw your question in there. I don't think we got time for it today, but I think we might have to address that next time or whenever the next show is regarding Steam's issue with exposure for high-quality games that don't get a lot of attention because you mentioned Uurnog and Super Skelemania both have less than 10 user reviews on Steam right now, and they're both good. So,
Yep.
yeah, that's certainly an issue worth talking about. But we'll have to save that one because that is a pretty meaty topic. But thank you guys
We
for the
can link
questions.
to Roundtable podcast. Sorry,
Yeah.
Bear.
Thank you for the questions, though. I want to do this chatting with chat more. I know I've had it on the docket a couple of times, but it's a good time, so we'll keep it going. So thank you guys for participating, and thank you for watching the show today. We appreciate your time. We want to let you know we're live here every Friday on twitch.tv/Roundtable Podcast, 3 p.m. Pacific time. Catch the VOD over on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/BaerTaffy the next day, twitter.com/RoundtablePC. There's the show discussion subreddit, roundtablepodcast.reddit.com, and you can go over to patreon.com/roundtable to support us there. Please consider just throwing a few bucks a month over to us on Patreon. That does do a lot of good in supporting the show to help us keep it going. Thank you very much for that. I want to thank those of you who have pledged at that $20 tier and above. Thank you so much for that support. That includes Julian Abelsgard, Scotty119, Ricky Grist, Jonathan Graham, Murfett, Todd Buckley, Cowboy Chemist, Eric Schooley, Stephen Aoki, Metadata Studios, James Peede, Peter Sinnison, Ellis Spice, John Kalchik, Jakar Sampson, Kolnar with a dance number, O Thomas Games BR, Sahoa, Joseph Boss, Penn Gillette, Talks to Wall, Chaos, Keep Thinking the Friends theme is going to play Theorist, Colby Klein, Greenlight, Oren Saltzman, Brizzlebrit, Positron, Mythscare, Mediocrities, Justin, Smurfett. Thank you all very much for your support over on patreon.com/roundtable. We appreciate it. That's going to do it. That's going to be the show today. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. We'll be back to be determined. We'll figure it out. I'll let you know.
Week after next.
Yes. That's for sure we'll be back week after next. May have a show next week, but we got Champions of Fire going on next week as well, so we'll do all kinds of fun stuff.
When you say we,
Ryan.
We're cheering for you, so when you come back,
I'm sorry. I like to think that we're a team, but you're the champion. I apologize.
No, just, it's when Mathis is at BlizzCon, we got a show. All of a
Yeah,
sudden,
but I'm gonna go see you, right? So that's
half the people.
You're innocent in this situation, okay?
No, that's why we wouldn't have a show.
That's why it's a
two
we.
people would be missing.
I'm just saying.
2 people would be missing.
Look, I'm not trying to put the blame on you.
I just want you to do a show without me.
If that's when you're concerned.
You're stressing them out. Too
Don't
much
worry about
pressure.
it. All right. Thanks for watching the show. Appreciate it, y'all. See ya.
Later.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.